Check out these amazing space news stories from this week. I hope you enjoy this edit. Don't forget you can catch each of these stories in a daily short on YouTube, and please consider subscribing and sharing this content if you enjoy it. Lunar Gateway is the space station that will orbit the moon to help with various aspects of long-term lunar exploration. NASA and its international partners are wrapping up production on the Habitation and Logistics Outpost, or HALO module, in Turin, Italy. Pressure testing of the module is complete, and it's about to be packed up and shipped to Northrop Grumman in Arizona for final outfitting and testing. After that's complete, the finished module will be shipped to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida for integration with the power and propulsion element. Current schedule is to launch HALO and the PPE to lunar orbit no later than December of 2027. Artemis 4 astronauts are then scheduled to arrive in late 2028, bringing with them a second habitat module called the International Habitation Module, or IHAB, which will be integrated with HALO. ESA's Lunar Link communication system will be integrated onto HALO and will provide high-speed communications between the lunar surface, gateway, and Earth, and Canadarm3 and an airlock module are also scheduled to be added by the early 2030s. Not everyone thinks Lunar Gateway is the best way to explore the moon, with some pointing out that due to its orbit, astronauts on the lunar surface will only be able to return to the station about every 6.5 days, potentially stranding the crew. Some don't see the benefit of stopping on the way to the moon, and still others want to skip exploring the moon entirely and head straight for Mars. If you want to hear one of many reasons why that could be a bad idea, check out Friday's video. We call Mars the red planet, but our understanding of exactly what makes Mars appear red has just changed with a new paper published today in Nature. You probably know that it's the red dust on Mars that gives it the red color, and you may even know that that dust is iron oxide. But what is the exact type of iron oxide, and what can that type tell us about the history of Mars? Well, quite a lot, as it turns out. Previously, we had thought that the main iron oxide on Mars was anhydrous hematite that was formed relatively recently on Mars through weathering. In order to check this, scientists at a lab in Switzerland have been grinding up samples of different types of iron oxide to try and match the properties of the dust observed by the various international missions on Mars, including Mars Express, Trace Gas Orbiter, and the Perseverance, Curiosity, and Opportunity rovers. The results show the best match to the Martian dust is actually a mix of basalt, sulfate, and an iron oxide called ferrihydrite. This is an exciting discovery because ferrihydrite forms in the presence of cool water, so it would have formed much farther back in Mars's past when water was still present. So, Mars rusted much less recently than we thought, and this is also further strong evidence of water on Mars at some point in its deep history before it was transformed into the desert world we see today. Of course, the proof will be in the pudding, and that means getting physical samples back from Mars to labs here to directly confirm this result and also give us a wealth of new knowledge about the history of Mars. A new lunar lander will launch later today from Kennedy Space Center. Intuitive Machines IM-2 will head to the moon aboard a Falcon 9 launch vehicle at 7:17 p.m. Eastern. The lander, called Athena, is part of NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services program and will be carrying an array of science instruments and experiments to the lunar surface that are intended to catalog and assess lunar resources ahead of human landings in the future. You may recall that Intuitive Machines' IM-1 lander launched just a year ago and successfully landed on the moon, although it partially tipped over during the final stages of landing, which limited its mission. Intuitive Machines will be hoping for a better landing this time around. The lander will carry NASA's Polar Resources Ice Mining Experiment 1, or Prime 1, that will drill into the lunar surface and then analyze what it finds with a mass spectrometer. Athena will also deploy a lunar rover called MAP and a hopper called GRACE that can travel up to a mile from Athena in small hops. GRACE will investigate shadowed craters and use a mobile network supported by MAP to communicate with Athena when it's out of sight of the lander. There's a ton of other cool technology on board both GRACE and Athena, and you can read more about the IM-2 mission over at the Intuitive Machines website. Couple quick space science updates this morning. Intuitive Machines' IM-2 mission that we talked about in yesterday's video is on its way to the moon after a successful launch last night. IM-2 should touch down on the moon in about a week, and its mission there should last 10 days and will be largely focused on the search for water. Updated observations of asteroid 2022 YR4 show that it has a 0.0001% chance of colliding with the Earth, so you have a better chance of winning an Olympic medal than seeing that happen. Keep calm and carry on. Finally, Blue Origin has announced that Katy Perry will be going to space aboard a New Shepard rocket later this year as part of the first all-female crew on the vehicle's NS-31 mission. Other members of the crew are Lauren Sanchez, NASA engineer Aisha Bao, producer Carrie-Anne Flynn, TV host Gail King, and scientist Amanda Oyen. Firefly Aerospace launched its Blue Ghost lunar lander back in January, and it started sending back some amazing views of the lunar far side. The lander is lowering its orbit ahead of a planned March the 2nd touchdown on the moon, and snapped this image and a video from about 100 kilometers above the surface. Just 4 days later, on March the 6th, Intuitive Machines' Athena lander is scheduled to touch down on the moon, having taken a much more direct route than Blue Ghost. If you enjoyed this channel, you probably love looking up and watching the sky, and starting tonight there's a cool show. You can see a parade of all 7 planets at once. Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Mars, and Neptune will all be up just after sunset, along with a new moon. You'll need a telescope to spot Uranus and Neptune, but the moon and the other 5 planets should be visible with your unaided eyes. If you're unable to watch, the Virtual Telescope Project is live streaming the event from Italy starting at noon EST, and I'll include a link to their video feed in the description. If you're watching this after the 28th of February, don't despair. The show will last a few days, and after that you can still see many of these planets in the night sky, but your next chance to see all 7 at once like this won't be until 2040.